Hello everyone and welcome back to game week 5 of the 23-24 PTC Therapeutics Premiership, where you join myself, Ryan Sipple, for what could be the title decider. West Bromwich Albion versus Newcastle United Foundation, first versus third in the league. Let's go through the squads quickly. Talk about how these two fared across their games yesterday and the implications of every result possible. West Brom comprised of Marcus Harrison, Dave Lewis, Chris Gordon, Valentino Zegarelli, Matt Gilbert and Dylan Kelsall. They're coached by Chris Gordon. Should they win this, they will wrap up the 23-24 Premiership and earn Logan Mitchelson a well-deserved winner's medal. Newcastle United Foundation, who were sensational yesterday, comprised of Aaron Guthrie, Ollie Crawshaw, Albie Morris, Lee Armstrong, Sam Smith and Ethan Fisher. Quickly bring up the league table. You'll see West Brom with a point advantage over their title rivals Aspire. Should Newcastle manage to get something from this game, whether that be a draw or win, they would take the title down to the final game of the season, where Aspire take on West Brom at 12:45 today. 3 points for West Brom would see them earn their 5th Premiership trophy. What a season it's been. Just look at the goals for 89, only 8 conceded. Aspire are the only team that can boast a defence as good as West Brom's. Newcastle, though, of their games yesterday, they started with a fantastic 5-0 victory over Nottingham before one of their results of the season, a 1-0 win over Aspire. Today they play West Brom here and Sevenoaks later on. The most they can finish on is 52 points, so the highest placement is 3rd, which they currently possess. Teesside will no doubt want to take that off them. Teesside currently playing on Court A, where they face Nottinghamshire. Should there be any goals in that one, I will bring you them live. As always, thank you to everyone that's tuning in. By all means, contribute in the comment section with your thoughts, predictions and more. Our match officials for this one: in the centre, Steve Crump. He's assisted by Mark Kerrison and Ian Harley. Another thing to keep a note of across this game is the race for the Golden Boot. The top goal scorer award, Brad Bates and Marcus Harrison, both locked on 26 goals apiece. Tyler Reeve and Ed Common currently playing on Court A on 21 and 20 respectively. Valentino Zegarelli has been prolific since his introduction to English power chair football. 19 goals in the games in which he's featured for West Brom. He was only present from game week 3 onwards. So let's clear the graphics so you can see the final preparations of West Brom and Newcastle. One to watch: Newcastle United Foundation's captain, Ollie Crawshaw, was without question the standout player, not just in their game against Aspire, but their opener against Nottinghamshire. He will most certainly be a consideration for the standout player of the weekend, which will be a poll run at the conclusion of today's action. To the starting 4, I'll bring you once Steve Crump gets us underway. And that he has Valentino Zegarelli with responsibility of the kickoff. straight into the side of Marcus Harrison. Back to Chris Gordon, who guides it into the path of Dylan Kelsall. Already a fast-paced start to the game as the ball just traps itself in the front bumper of Dylan Kelsall's strike force chair. Set ball to resume. Marcus Harrison and Ollie Crawshaw. So West Brom have Chris Gordon in the blue goalkeeper jersey, in the dark blue with accents of red. Their outfield players are Dylan Kelsall, Marcus Harrison and Valentino Zegarelli. Newcastle United Foundation have Ethan Fisher as the designated goalkeeper in the green and gold. Outfield players, Lee Armstrong typically always the most defensive of the 4 players. Outfield, they have Sam Smith and Ollie Crawshaw, the team in which saw them take 3 points against Aspire, all but ending their hopes of lifting the Premiership trophy, certainly the one that was in their hands. Now they are reliant here on Newcastle to do them a favour, as Ethan Fisher nor Marcus Harrison wanted to yield in pursuit of that ball, slamming into the central divider between courts A and B. Lee Armstrong gets his first touch of the game. Dylan Kelsall distributes out to Valentino Zegarelli. Sam Smith. Newcastle absorbing some early pressure. Aspire yesterday just struggled to break the ball past Ethan Fisher, and as the most defensive winger, Ollie Crawshaw spent a lot of time engaged in the game. West Brom will want to have a real focus on their passing accuracy. Something that proved Aspire's undoing, as Marcus Harrison has an audacious effort there, mishits it, so Ethan Fisher gains possession, flicked into the centre by Chris Gordon. Ollie Crawshaw now engaged in a battle with Dylan Kelsall. Already fast-paced, fiery game. Anyone that watched the Aspire Newcastle game yesterday will know that that was incredibly intense from start to finish. Ollie Crawshaw tries to pick out Sam Smith and almost does so. Dylan Kelsall has to be alert, which he absolutely is, and he just traps the ball between himself and Fisher. Steve Crump just coming to tell Dylan Kelsall to calm down. So much emotion intertwined with these fixtures, not least the fact that this is a title decider should West Brom take 3 points. So a direct free kick. Ethan Fisher and Ollie Crawshaw over this one. Fisher now with responsibility. Crawshaw drops off. He takes possession on the wing. Fired, goal bound. Dylan Kelsall clears it. Second effort intended for Sam Smith on the right-hand wing. Just out of play. Kelsall into Marcus Harrison. Of their 3 games yesterday, West Brom secured maximum points, wins against Leeds Chariots, Nottinghamshire and Teesside. See them take the perfect form and momentum into this one. That time Ethan Fisher trying to trap the ball. Out for a Newcastle ball. So many people gathered around Court B of the Lee Westwood Sports Centre. Everyone knowing the significance of this one. 2-on-1 in favour of West Bromwich Albion. Newcastle have settled into this game, growing in confidence as they did in their game yesterday. Harrison to Gordon. Crawshaw trying to prevent the advancement of the West Brom captain. I said I'd bring you goals updates from Court A. You can see Teesside currently a goal to the good against Nottinghamshire, so they will regain 3rd spot in the league unless Newcastle are able to find a goal. Crawshaw has to be careful there. Driving onto the ball could have very easily put pressure on Lee Armstrong. Across the ball, Valentino Zegarelli blocked off the line by Lee Armstrong. A second follow-up effort. Assured clearance from Lee Armstrong. Gets a round of applause from a lot of people around Court B. Plenty of Aspire players, most notably John Boulding to my right, cheering Newcastle on. Ollie Crawshaw into Ethan Fisher. Pick off from Marcus Harrison. Guides it goal bound. Lee Armstrong once again covering that right hand post. Just struggling to break the press. But if you see how many players West Brom have committed forward, Marcus Harrison, just to fill that void now, any potential break from Newcastle would surely result in a goal as Valentino Zegarelli uses the front bumper to attempt an effort. Too congested. Newcastle come away with the indirect free kick. Loads of little contacts and nicks off the ball. Fisher takes possession, engaged by Marcus Harrison. He's going to try and force his way down that right-hand wing. Valentino Zegarelli vacates the space well. Now Zegarelli tries to flick it across the box. Gordon to Harrison. Cleared momentarily by Ethan Fisher. Kelsall recycles into Zegarelli to the edge of the box. Crucial pick-off from Ollie Crawshaw. Almost presented Sam Smith an opportunity to shoot into an open net, even though it was on the halfway line. It was the risk with West Brom's system, committing players forward, and their four-out approach can sometimes leave vulnerabilities in behind should the opposition manage to break and intercept. Dylan Kelsall now, who's just grown into this game and season as a whole, unable to keep it in play. Options on the bench for both teams, West Brom, Matt Gilbert and Dave Lewis. Newcastle, Albie Morris and Aaron Guthrie. Ollie Crawshaw across the court, controlled by Valentino Zegarelli. Guides it past Ethan Fisher, just wedged on that right-hand post corner ball. Valentino Zegarelli, of course, voted the most valuable player at the 2023 Fit for Power Chair Football World Cup. We've already had a few comments about how he's improved so much, and that adaptation to the English game has been seamless. There's no question of his quality, so strong in the dribble, but his passing, expansive play, the technical sides of Power Chair football have been showcased across the 2.5 weekends he has featured. It's been a joy to commentate on. Just very interested to see what he does for next season. There was a commitment to contribute to West Brom's second half of the season, both in the National League, their FA Disability Cup, where the final they'll see meet Aspire 30th of June at St George's Park, televised on TNT Sport, as well as the Champions Cup, the Champions League equivalent for Power Chair football, in which Aspire and West Brom bid to become the first English team to lift a European trophy. So there is still the potential for one of our two teams, Aspire and West Brom, to secure the National League, Domestic Cup competition and the Champions Cup competition, and what a treble that would be. But I'm sure the other would have something to say about that. That is in West Brom's hands, needing Newcastle to win here, but we have a lot of football left to be played. Newcastle have so much quality as Ethan Fisher fires that out of play. Just over 9 minutes gone. It remains goalless between West Bromwich Albion and Newcastle. For anyone tuning in now, this will be a title decider if West Brom can get the 3 points. They've gained enough of a lead over their title rivals Aspire to extend the gap to 4 points with 3 points here. So their final game between the two wouldn't be enough to make up the ground. 2-1 in favour of Newcastle. That's something we saw in that game against Aspire. Newcastle just prevented Aspire from scoring for a large part of the game and a late breakaway for Ollie Crawshaw, and what a goal it was as well. They'll be hoping to replicate that here. They have no obligation to do neither Aspire or West Brom favours. They're here to compete for themselves. As Valentino Zegarelli controls it on the right-hand wing. Contact from Dylan Kelsall. Sorry, from Ethan Fisher into Dylan Kelsall. So a direct free kick. Arguably the best opportunity for West Brom to have a clear-cut opportunity all game. Got Gary Mackay tuning in from Newcastle, cheering on his team. No doubt Sam Mackay, his son, currently of Middlesbrough PFC, will be watching as well. So, direct free kick. Valentino Zegarelli shapes up to take it and fires the ball in the left-hand post. An absolutely sensational, well-worked routine. Valentino Zegarelli shaped us as he was going to take it. It was the front bumper pick-off from Chris Gordon into the path of the Argentinian, who registers his 20th league goal of the season. And that is absolutely brilliant. They've got one hand on the trophy. West Bromwich Albion 1, Newcastle United Foundation 0. Really was brilliant. So, kick-off from Ethan Fisher. Straight from the training ground for West Brom. Even I didn't anticipate them to roll through in that sequence. I was sure that Valentino would attempt the effort himself, but just that deception adopted displaced the Newcastle defenders, and even then, far from a formality, Valentino Zegarelli with laser accuracy trapped by Ollie Crawshaw. You can see what that potential 3 points does for West Brom. Extends the margin to 4 points, which is not enough for Aspire to make up. Across the box, Sam Smith waiting, but guided out by Chris Gordon. Well trapped, but Sam Smith to Fisher. Just off the front of Marcus Harrison's chair. You'll see the top 5 league goal scorers very quickly. Valentino Zegarelli on to 20. Ed Common must have registered one in that game against Nottingham on Court A. Fantastic goal scoring season, certainly for them 5 players. Free kick for West Brom, taken quickly by Chris Gordon. 6.5 minutes to go. Ollie Crawshaw just trying to get the goal side of the ball. It's good work from Marcus Harrison. Bypasses Crawshaw, met by Ethan Fisher. Out of play for a West Bromwich Albion ball. First substitute of the game, signalled by our officials. It's going to be Albie Morris entering. Sam Smith coming off. Sam Smith isolated for large parts of this first half. They'll be hoping Albie Morris can influence the performance of his team a little bit more. So difficult when they're under so much pressure for a majority of the game. So Chris Gordon has Marcus Harrison, the most obvious option, down to the joint top goal scorer, Valentino Zegarelli, trying to double his team's advantage and his own goal tally. Albie Morris, for his first engagement in the game, is the difficult task of preventing the Argentinian from advancing up the court. '72 current viewers tuning into this one. Thank you to each and every one of you. As I mentioned on the previous game I commentated between Aspire and Throttles, we've now reached the 1,000 subscriber mark, which is very significant in what we can offer as a channel in terms of our content and streaming. So thank you once again. 2-on-1 in favour of Newcastle here. 4.5 minutes to go in this first half. Indirect free kick presents Newcastle now with their best opportunity to get back into this game. It remains West Brom 1, Newcastle United Foundation 0. Will they try the boom boom? Has to go via the chair of an opponent or teammate. Albie Morris waiting at the back post. Boom boom attempted. Well wide of the right hand post. Seen a number attempted across game week 5. I think only Aspire managed to get theirs on target, but none managing to make their way over the goal line. I'll bring up the live league standings at the conclusion of this half. Confirmation of the score on court A. Nottinghamshire having a brilliant game, restricting Teesside to just a draw at the moment, a result that could be really good for them. There's a big battle at the bottom of the table that you'll have to keep an eye on, certainly if this one is wrapped up before lunchtime. Fisher into Marcus Harrison. Trying to force his way round ex-West Bromwich Albion player Luke Kelly, just won the championship with Greenbank, here to cheer on his ex-teammates. As Ollie Crawshaw tries to bypass Chris Gordon. Gordon taking his time, 2 minutes to go. Zegarelli on the edge, shielded by Crawshaw. Just tries to give his captain the angle and does just that. But goal didn't count. Zegarelli just trying to make that space, drove too close to Marcus Harrison. Unfortunately for Newcastle and Aspire to a certain degree, it remains 1-0 to West Bromwich Albion. Another well-worked set piece, but Harrison was just trapped in that top left-hand corner. Gordon down to Harrison, out of play from Ollie Crawshaw. Gordon to Harrison. Final minute of the half. Two on one in West Brom's favour. An opportunity very late on for them to double their lead. Can we see another well-worked set piece? Will they try it again? Indirect this time, as opposed to the direct free kick in which they score, but didn't opt to go straight away. They've done the same again. this time wide of the left post. It's obviously effective, but they need to get the angles and timing spot on, considering that Newcastle always cover that left-hand post. So we've had the regulation 20 ticking over into additional time. West Brom 1, Newcastle 0. And that signals the first half of action. Thank you to everyone that's tuning in. We bring up the live league table. West Brom on 58 points from their 21 games, enough for them to secure the 23-24 Premiership trophy. Newcastle on 46 points, and with Teesside currently unable to get a goal advantage over their rivals, Nottinghamshire. They're on 45 points, but I'll be back very shortly for the second half in this game, this title deciding game between West Bromwich Albion and Newcastle United Foundation. I'll be back soon. Testing, testing, testing. Hello everyone and welcome back to this title deciding game between West Bromwich Albion and Newcastle United Foundation, currently separated by a single Valentino Zegarelli goal scored in the 12th minute. I'm now joined on commentary by ex-West Bromwich Albion player Barris Innell. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad at all. Give me your thoughts on that first half.
I think neither team threatened too much. West Brom got some joy from the set pieces they had in and around the Newcastle box. We saw them try what happened for the goal a few times, where Chris just taps it to Zagarelli and he does a full spin and hopefully scores. He got one goal like that. They did also have a disallowed goal, was it from a kick-in?
Yes.
I think. Where I think Marcus and Zagarelli was slightly too close.
Yeah, exactly that.
Apart from those chances from those situations, there hasn't... Both teams have played some decent football, but neither have created too much. But West Brom will be happy with going 1-0 up and setting themselves up to win the league as long as they don't lose this half of football.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they switch it up at the break. Now with a 1-goal margin to maintain, it'll be interesting to see whether they kind of just sit back and try and protect that goal advantage, or they look to add to their goal tally. They were very pragmatic in their game against Teesside yesterday, where they weren't too worried about how it looked. More importantly, just getting the 3 points in the bag. But as we've mentioned, 3 points here for West Bromwich Albion would see them seal the 23-24 Premiership.
Yeah, I expect they'll probably just go out and do more of the same. If it's still a 1-goal margin in the last 5 to 10 minutes, then I'd expect them to just start taking it into contact and slowing the game down. But I don't think they want to do that too early.
No, so unchanged from both teams, from the teams that finished the first half. West Brom have Chris Gordon, Dylan Kelsall, Marcus Harrison and Valentino Zegarelli. Newcastle have Ethan Fisher, Ollie Crawshaw. They have Lee Armstrong and Alvin Morris. Interestingly though, Newcastle do look like they've switched up tactically, because Lee Armstrong now operating far more advanced and Ethan Fisher the most defensive of the 4 players. So it doesn't look as if Newcastle are happy with the current scoreline. They're looking to do something about it. I said on commentary first half that they have no obligation to aspire, nor West Brom. They just want to play for themselves, so they will be desperate for the 3 points here, as I'm sure many people around the Lee Westwood Sports Centre will, because it means it will go down to the last game. Even a draw would be enough to make a one-off title decider between West Brom and Aspires. Marcus Harrison just keeping that ball live, needs to continue rolling. It's just out of shot from the cameras, but he has won his team a corner. Valentino Zegarelli to take. We know how good they are at set pieces. They scored a number of corners yesterday, and where Chris Gordon acts as the screen over to Marcus Harrison. Often goes himself, which he's opted to do, into the side of Ethan Fisher. Nearly found the gap at that left-hand post. Out of danger, and a potential break for Newcastle United. Goes out of play. That's the warning sign for the potential champions.
It is quite interesting that Ethan Fisher is now the deepest player for Newcastle, because I feel like in the first half, and in most Newcastle games I've seen, he's the one that is able to get a flick out and start a transition. But now Lee Armstrong is going to be the one that's in the position to do that. And I'd say Ethan Fisher is better suited to that role.
Yeah. Gordon into Harrison, just controls it. Just off of Marcus Harrison's chair there. Well observed by Steve Crump, because it was the wrong side of the assistant to our left, Mark Kerrison. Good decision as Crawshaw takes quickly. Armstrong has to be careful. Any heavy touch would have allowed Harrison to engage the action.
It is looking like West Brom are being a bit more conservative in this half, with playing it to Marcus, letting him drive up the pitch, and then only really playing football around the Newcastle box. Because we saw a couple of minutes ago when West Brom, I think, had a free kick around the centre of the pitch. Marcus just tapped it, not Marcus, Chris just tapped it to Marcus and let him drive it to the corner.
How many league winners' medals have you got with West Brom? Was it 2?
2, yeah. One of them was the COVID season.
Yes. But a
Oh.
well-earned one with no interruptions. Good chance here for West Brom. We were just having conversations around the Sports Centre as to what players have won the Premiership and Championship. Did you win the Championship with Manchester United?
No, last season, but I did do...
But you have won the Championship.
I think in the 18-19 season.
You're one of the few players that can boast that accolade.
I think Luke Kelly is one of the others, isn't he?
Luke Kelly is another. I believe Matt Francis may be, if he won the Championship with Brighton to bring them back up to the Premiership. But that one I'm not 100% sure of, but we had the conversation as well. Should West Brom wrap this title up in this game, or their second against Aspire? Logan Mitchelson, who sadly passed away shortly after game week 4 of the Premiership, will be the only player to have ever won the league, the top league in Scotland and England, so he will have a medal being taken up to Scotland in his memory, as Harrison tries to force his way round, very aggressive in that flick back to Chris Gordon, colliding with Ollie Crawshaw. Zegarelli just readjusts and he's going to try and find the gap, forcing his way
Penalty?
over.
It's given as a penalty.
I honestly don't think that was a penalty.
I didn't think there was a foul either, right?
I think it was a 50-50 engagement in the ball, and I would have let play continue there. Ethan Fisher absolutely gutted with that decision, but
West Brom will be happy with it.
absolutely they will, and this presents them with a fantastic opportunity to double their lead. It looks like Valentino Zegarelli is shaping up to take it, which would put him onto 21 league goals. Ethan Fisher has just been awarded a yellow card. His protest.
Is the sin bin rule still in?
I don't.
I know they brought that in a few years ago, but I don't know if it's still.
I
is
don't
or
believe
not.
so. No. So Zegarelli shapes up to take. He's had a fairly prolific weekend, looking to add yet another to his tally. Steve Crump and Mark Kerrison just having a conversation with Chris Gordon before he shapes up to take this. Steve Crump blows his whistle. Valentino Zegarelli shapes, feints, fires it, goal bank, saved on the line by Ethan Fisher. The danger still present. Chris Gordon with possession. Fantastic save, but no real accuracy on that from Zegarelli. Would have wanted to pick one of the corners a little bit more than he did. But a big round of applause from Newcastle fans and at Aspire as well, as we've got a game on our hands.
I'm surprised Zegarelli went for a half spin then, because I've had him take a few penalties against me in training sometimes, like being part of like West Brom and Fossils, and it's not often he goes for a half spin from penalties. So I'm quite surprised that he did then.
Something that could be incredibly significant if Newcastle able to find a way back into this game. Harrison flicks it towards the Newcastle goal. No real power to trouble Ollie Crawshaw, who was the most defensive. Ethan Fisher just reasserts himself at the base of the four. Marcus Harrison bypasses Crawshaw initially, but he comes across to prevent Harrison from advancing further. They have to be focused so much. 2-on-1. Marcus Harrison strangely just driving into the area occupied by Zegarelli. Confirmation of the current score on Court A. Still 1-1 between Teesside and Nottinghamshire. A result which will be brilliant for Nottingham as they look to ensure that they aren't drawn into the relegation battle or 10th place playoff position. They're safe at the moment with that point, but they've still got another game to play today. Starting to get very fiery. Steve Crump overseeing this with a high level of authority. I think they were appealing for a yellow card. So a free kick for Newcastle. Lee Armstrong now readies himself to take. Ethan Fisher, as is to the fluidity of the system that they adopt, is now in that top right-hand corner. Probably the option for Armstrong. It absolutely is, but Harrison easily guides it out of danger for a Newcastle kick-in. Fisher to take. Very congested in that box of West Bromwich Albion. Dylan Kelso hasn't had a great deal to do in this second half, but has to maintain concentration levels. I spoke to him after their 2-1 victory over Teesside, and he performed a similar role in that one and found it so hard being isolated for large percentages of the game to ensure that if the ball was to break in his vicinity, he can be precise and accurate in his decision making. Another corner for Newcastle, taken by Fisher. Lee Armstrong the closest of the two supporting options. Albie Morris unopposed at the back post. Fisher into Dylan Kelso. Out of play for another Newcastle ball. They're knocking on the door.
They are starting to put some pressure on now. Every ball they played from those kick-ins they've been trying to find the gap between Chris and Dylan, but there hasn't been one there. But it's important the West Brom maintain the concentration here.
Ethan Fisher desperately trying to find that equaliser. Out for another Newcastle ball. We've had just under 31 minutes. It remains West Brom 1, Newcastle 0. Zegarelli with the opener after 12 minutes and a missed penalty in the second half. Another notable moment as Fisher into the box, once again trapped. And Marcus Harrison now needs to communicate with Zegarelli. That moment's hesitation just let that ball roll out of play. Have to maintain such high levels of concentration that it's almost inevitable that there's bound to be lapses every now and again. Gary Mackay has also confirmed that Sam Mackay won the championship with Newcastle in the COVID season as well, so he hasn't quite managed to win the Premiership yet, but no doubt he's going to be a star of the future.
And he'll certainly have the ambition to win. He'll be in title races, won't he?
Absolutely. Chris Gordon, 2-on-1 awarded in Newcastle's favour. Taken by Fisher. Jamie Harrison just ushering Albie Morris into that top left-hand corner. He's had very little involvement, so isolated as Marcus Harrison now connects with Ethan Fisher.
From free kick, I think. Is it?
Ethan Fisher has to be careful. He's already received a yellow from Steve Crump. Steve Crump just asking all players around to calm down. Substitute signalled by our officials. Sam Smith looks as if he's ready to come back on. A real switch up for Newcastle. Ethan Fisher comes out of the goalkeeper jersey. Ollie Crawshaw now adorning it.
I think
probably a sensible,
him rather than being on the yellow.
Probably a sensible decision, signalled by Steve Crumb and then acted on by Jamie Harrison. Ethan Fisher being on a yellow and engaging in that contact foul could have very easily seen red. So a generous offering from our referee, but he will probably have played the remaining minutes of this game. Sam Smith takes his place. Let's get confirmation of that substitute. So a very different looking side now, certainly from that started the first half. Can they find a way back into this? I have to keep giving it context. If West Brom can remain resolute for the next 6 minutes, they will be crowned 23-24 PTC Therapeutics Premiership champions.
I think at this point West Brom are just going to take the time, aren't they?
They have to. It's all about game management now as much as it is anything else. The last time these two met, Newcastle did get the better of West Brom. 2-1 that finished back in December. So Newcastle, the only team in the Premiership that's been able to secure 3 points against Aspire and West Brom. An immediate substitute sees Ethan Fisher come back on. I thought he would have seen the last of his action, but
this is kind of reminding me of Leeds and Aspire the last weekend, where I think Lewis Harris was on the yellow and on his off warning for quite some time. Came off, then came back on and got a second yellow.
Segarelli has to communicate with Harrison, just caught unaware as to the driving arc of Harrison. Takes possession, bypasses Crawshaw. Ethan Fisher now residing on that right wing of Newcastle. He's going to try and weave his way round. There's an open goal for him to go to, but he weaves to the left and scores his second. Nice. West Bromwich Albion 2, Newcastle United 0. West Brom almost certainly will be lifting the 23-24 Premiership crown. And you have to say they're good value for it. They've been fantastic, most notably across game week 5 of the season.
How many titles is this now for West Brom?
This will be their 5th, I believe.
5th.
I think they've got 4 to their name.
And then they've got a cup final to look forward to at the end of June as well.
Exactly, and whilst it will most likely be commiserations to Aspire, who have pushed them to the very final day, they still have the Champions Cup in Paris to look forward to, the Champions League equivalent for Power Chair Football, and the FA Disability Cup final, televised on TND Sport as part of the FA Disability Cup weekend. So they can get their revenge in one of them 2 competitions. Marcus Harrison.
That's a penalty.
Harrison.
That's surely a penalty.
That is most certainly a penalty. Strong contact from Ollie Crawshaw. Marcus Harrison going over to Steve Crumb, who just didn't want to give it.
Steve Crumb is one of my favourite referees, but that's a penalty, isn't it?
Interesting decision. It was very forceful from Ollie Crawshaw, who just tried to break out of his defensive box. And now, just as fiery, the battle between Sam Smith and Valentino Zegarelli goes in the favour of the latter. Zegarelli now, I believe, on 22 or 21 league goals. We've got people tuning in from Argentina to cheer on Zegarelli.
Did Zegarelli join in the third weekend?
Yeah, he's only played from game week 3 onwards, and to amass 21 goals in that time is beyond impressive.
It makes you wonder how many he'd get if he had the full season.
Exactly, I think he would almost certainly have wrapped up the top goal scorer award, not least. He's also on 10 plus assists for the season, so he's at 30 plus goal contributions across 3 weekends. Harrison, it cleared by Ollie Crawshaw. Approaching the final minute of play. West Bromwich Albion 2, Newcastle United Foundation 0. West Brom will be crowned champions. And they pretty much have Newcastle to thank for that. Chris Gordon just instructing Marcus Harrison where to best place his chair. Just cushions it. He's going to lock this ball up in this corner, just out of shot of the camera. Flicked out by Lee Armstrong, back to Marcus Harrison. So good at just winding down the clock and frustrating the opposition. Forceful contact once again, as he's going to try and weave his way around. Marcus Harrison would love to add a goal to his name in this game to regain top position in the top goal scorer charts. He's currently tied on 26 goals apiece with Aspire's Brad Bates. So whilst there'll be no significance in that fixture with regards and context to the trophy, top goal scorer awards is still up for grabs. Ethan Fisher over to Sam Smith. Too much pace.
I think that's the biggest chance of the game for Newcastle.
The
first time they really got in behind Chris and left Dylan isolated.
I think that the credit's owed to Ethan Fisher, that his versatility, he can operate in any one of the 4 positions on the court and still perform at the highest of levels. It must be a joy to have for Jamie Harrison.
Yeah, you can ask him to do any job and he does it well.
We had the regulation 20. Listen for the roars of jubilation around the Lee Westwood Sports Centre. Once Steve Crump blows his whistle, contact from Ollie Crawshaw, surely a foul. Advantage played from Steve Crump. Comes back for the advantage. Yellow card is going to be awarded to Ollie Crawshaw. He's done well to only receive it now. As we spoke about a few moments ago, it's almost certainly a penalty that he managed to escape, which would have resulted in a yellow card. 30 seconds over the 40. Chris Gordon into Marcus Harrison. Crumpy looks at his watch as Harrison just winds the clock down. Play continues. Out of play for a Newcastle ball. Full time on court A. Looks as if Nottingham had secured a point against Teesside, which could help their hopes of survival. And a very late free kick, I believe indirect for Newcastle United. Ollie Crawshaw to take. Ethan Fisher, a close option. Into Fisher's path, just missed contact with the ball. Straight down the line.
We're going quite far over the regulation time.
We are indeed, but he takes one final look at his watch. Now 2 minutes over the 40 as Ian Harley, our assistant, just places the ball down. Surely the last kick of the game. Into Harrison. And that is it. West Bromwich Albion are the 23-24 PTC Therapeutics Premiership champions. A huge congratulations to them. They've had a faultless game week so far. And they have dethroned their close title rivals at Aspire. Commiserations to them. They fought and pushed them to the very end. West Brom secure their 5th league title. I know it's going to be a very emotional time for them players who are playing in Logan Mitchelson's honour. There will be a Premiership winners medal making its way back up to Monty Fife in Scotland. No doubt he's watching down on his teammates, beaming with pride.
Yeah, West Brom have done really well to be able to perform in his memory after what happened, and to win the league and get a winner's medal for Logan as well.
Absolutely. But anyway, thank you to everyone that's tuned in, to myself and Barris. West Bromwich Albion wrap up the Premiership in style. Just one final game, that against Aspire, but unfortunately for them, not enough points can be made up to switch the standings. I'll be back for that one shortly. Thank you, Barris.
Thank you.